Damn right, it's time to panic. That is exactly what Brian Pereira is saying in the live chat with the news that Christian McCaffrey is out in week one. The consensus RB1 for a decent clump of years out of his career will not be playing the number one overall pick in a lot of fantasy football drafts if he wasn't number two or number three, is out tonight. Damn right, it's time to panic. That's exactly what Brian Ferreira said at the top of our live chat. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. My name is Corey. We are covering the news as it happens. We saw that Christian McCaffrey was questionable coming into today. I did not expect to get this news that he would not be playing. That is quite possibly the worst news we could have gotten. Even limited snaps wouldn't have been that bad, but this is a different type of bad news right now with just under an hour left to scramble. So we are going to cover a quick backup plan here. I am immediately diving into ESPN Fantasy Football, and we are going to do our best to try and plug and play. This is not ideal. If you have Christian McCaffrey, you are probably floundering for a pretty good reason. We are going to follow the fantasy guidelines here and look at who's available, who has opportunity, who has productivity, and who is going up against a weak opponent. We kind of have to throw out the last couple there. We just need someone who's available and is going to get opportunity because this is quite literally the worst scenario we could have asked for. Christian McCaffrey, the RB1 in so many drafts, if it isn't Breece Hall, is out, and we have a pool of players from two different teams to choose from. There is one game left. It is Monday Night Football. Quite literally one of the worst scenarios you could draw up. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. We are going to try and take you through this panic-driven scenario and also talk about ways to prevent something like this happening in the future. I am looking at the live chat. Brian saying my choices are to make any cushion on my lead are Isaac Garendo or Braylon Allen. Please help. A1 Sauce says, yo. Raven says, I can't relax tonight playing CMC in two different leagues. Dropped some defensive player as a CMC owner for Jordan Mason. Am I overreacting by being frustrated by this? Why wouldn't San Francisco rule him out earlier this week? We'll answer that first. Why would San Francisco wait until now to rule him out? It's the same reason that the Packers are not technically ready to rule out Jordan Love for week 2, even though he is estimated to be out between 2 to 6 weeks. That is a pretty wide range. The San Francisco 49ers wanted to give the New York Jets the least amount of time possible to game plan for a lineup without Christian McCaffrey. That is why they're not playing us as fantasy owners. They are playing their opponents. Let's first dive into the depth chart. I'm seeing Braylon Allen as a possible option. Braylon Allen is one of the better running backs to come out of the Wisconsin Badgers system. Yes, he is a rookie. He is the immediate answer behind Breece Hall. He did have a good camp. Braylon Allen would likely be somebody that I'd be going after at this very moment, and I guarantee his league ownership rate is only going up by the second. So we'll look over at Braylon Allen, again, somebody coming out of Wisconsin with, highly touted reviews. He's actually from Fond du Lac, which is like 30 minutes from where I am at right now in south central Wisconsin. Braylon Allen's ownership rate is going to skyrocket. So if you have CMC, you can grab him. If you are facing someone with CMC, you can also grab him for the worst player on your bench and pretty much secure a win. I know that seems mean, but that is an easy way to lock down a W right now. So if you don't have Christian McCaffrey, but you're facing someone with Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey has a chance to beat you, take Braylon Allen and get him out of there. And then we're going to look at guys like Jordan Mason. Again, Breece Hall going to get utilized a heavy amount. Jordan Mason, go take him. Go take him and immediately, because we know he is in line for the RB1 worth of touches. Go take him off of the waivers right now. If you don't have Christian McCaffrey and you're facing him, still do this. If you do have Christian McCaffrey and you need a backup plan, Jordan Mason is likely your best answer. Otherwise, Braylon Allen is the backup behind Breece Hall, who, again, Braylon Allen impressed in camp. We are not able to refresh for some reason. But that is the course of action that I would go with. Johnny says it's pretty slim pickings out there. Braylon Allen is a backup. Unfortunately, these are kind of the cards we've been dealt. CMC is not an RB2 or a flex option, so we're not able to shop around and try and swap him out with a receiver of any sort. That is extremely frustrating. Trust me, I know. Internet's not cooperating right now, so we'll wait a bit. But yeah, Braylon Allen, Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason probably selected in a lot more leagues. I think there were a lot of people picking up Jordan Mason as soon as we got the news that Christian McCaffrey's status was even in question going into this week. This is a very frustrating situation, I'm not going to lie. We're going to look at who is available right now, but Braylon Allen is someone we could be looking at, especially if the line switches and all of a sudden the Jets are out in front. They want to use Allen as a bruiser inside the goal line. There is no way to know his role. Again, this is literally the worst scenario you could ask for. It is week 1, so we have no data to go off of, nothing to reference with this Jets offense and how they utilize Braylon Allen or their secondary and tertiary pieces. Christian McCaffrey, the RB1, is out, and we have 2 teams to choose from because it is Monday Night Football in week 1. We're going to help you try and flounder through this horrible scenario. And again, we're going to start by looking over at waivers, the Jets depth chart. It's Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. I wouldn't go anywhere beyond that. I wouldn't go anywhere beyond Braylon Allen because Breece Hall is healthy. He's not the one that's hurt. Jordan Mason, if you are facing a Christian McCaffrey owner, go get Jordan Mason, and you pretty much have guaranteed yourself a win. I think that some people would look down at that strategy. I would say that it seals you the win, and if anything, it is smart play. Okay, let's look over here. I am kind of scared to see the news. This is the smart decision. Take Jordan Mason, who is owned in 28.6% of leagues, an increase of 12%. If we look at the 49ers depth chart, again, they don't have guys like Matt Breida or Elijah Mitchell anymore. Isaac Guerendo, maybe it's a split backfield because Jordan Mason is and has not been the wide or the running back 1 in the last couple of years of his career. He's still relatively young. I would say the pecking order is Jordan Mason, then Braylon Allen, and then Isaac Guerendo. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal at all. This sucks. There's really no other way to put it. The names you should be looking for right now if you are a Christian McCaffrey owner: Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo, and Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, the backup for Breece Hall. Hopefully that saves you an extra 2 or 3 minutes from looking at the depth charts. I've already done it for you. This is something. Again, this is someone with a lot of injury risk. I said the same thing about him and Cooper Kupp. I stay away from them in drafts. I see 3/4 of you have been impacted by this. It's something I would consider going forward. I know Christian McCaffrey was coming off of a healthy year, but historically, again, what is the #1 rule on our fantasy guidelines we have been using since day 1, which was just a few days ago? Availability. And there has been a risk of that. Regardless of the phenomenal value that Christian McCaffrey brings forth, regardless of the fact he has been a first-round pick pretty much since he entered the league, if not the year after, when he got the main bulk of the touches in Carolina. He has been risky in relation to our #1 rule in availability. He's always gotten the opportunity. He's always been productive. It's really negated opponent strength. All right, let's keep going through the chat. If you guys are just joining, my name is Corey Sparks. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. We are 20 subscribers away from 1,000, so if this security, this last-second emergency advice is helping you out at all, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. We are almost at 1,000, helping you out research your fantasy opponent. The order I would go in: Jordan Mason for sure. Obviously, he is in line to be at the running back 1 spot with Christian McCaffrey down according to the depth chart for the 49ers and what we do expect coming into this year. Then I would go Braylon Allen behind Breece Hall, and then I would go Isaac Guerendo. I don't really know what to say beyond that because it's a tough situation to be in. It is last minute. We have 1 game. Patrick Taylor, who had a decent amount of touches, I mean, relative to these other guys, especially Braylon Allen, who hasn't touched the ball yet. 4.4 yards per carry, decently involved in the pass catching game in a limited capacity. He's all the way at the RB4 spot. I would not mess with Patrick Taylor. We have a thin pool of players. But yeah, Johnny, I am not shocked that you're frustrated by this. A lot of us are. This is one of the most talented players in the National Football League who draws a lot of appeal for fantasy football, and he is out. What does the role say here? Drop some defensive player as a CMC owner for Jordan Mason. Okay. Raven Shoyo says, put my week 1 W's in the books. Brian Pereira says, James Conner played well yesterday, and of course I had him on my bench. Why Allen over Guerendo? Honest question. I feel like Allen's going to have more productivity because of his draft profile coming out of the Wisconsin Badgers system. I really do think it's a crapshoot between those two. I'm just leaning Allen because I firsthand watched him be a monster and know that he can power through contact. He's a little bit bigger than Brees Hall, so maybe he's the goal line guy. Whereas I couldn't tell you anything about Garendo right now. So I just know a little bit more about Braylon Allen. The roll says, should I drop Sauce for Braylon Allen in an ADP league? I love Sauce, but he's a lockdown corner and isn't that good in an IDP. Yeah, in this situation, if you're in a squeeze and you need points and you feel like, here's the thing, right? Don't move mountains if you're down 50 points and you had Christian McCaffrey. Do not drop one of your better players on your bench to go and get Jordan Mason or Patrick Taylor Jr. or Garendo or Braylon Allen. If you already know this week is a lost cause, don't do it. Because then you're giving up value, someone else is going to snatch it up, and this move that just impacted 1 week could burn you 4 weeks. I do want to start with that. All right, Timeless says someone has Jordan Mason and Braylon Allen. So who should I take? You're going to go on down the line in the depth chart and assume that Jordan Mason doesn't touch the ball 25 times. We're going to go with Isaac Garendo. I think that's our best bet here. He is second in the pecking order. Brees Hall's obviously healthy. Then it's Allen. If you went behind Allen, you're at the RB3. At least in Garendo, you're getting the RB2. So Timeless, I'm going to go with Isaac Garendo. Brian Pereira says, now the injury bug thought with CMC is creeping up on me. It's happened a lot, right? It's extremely frustrating that somebody who, again, has so much productivity, gets so much opportunity, is such a versatile back to the point where opponent strength really doesn't matter, is out so often. It's extremely frustrating. So I don't blame you for thinking that. There's a reason I avoid guys like him and Cooper Kupp and others. Chandler Constantino says, thoughts on Zamir White? Madison came on and saw all the third down work and the one goal line carry also outsnapped him. I think White is droppable going forward or not. I mean, Zamir White runs a sub 4.4 and is a big dude. I think we just got in a situation. This is for Chandler. We just got in a situation where the Raiders were working from behind and it wasn't a good spot. They had to go pass heavy. They were dumping it off more to Alexander Madison. I would let it sit. If you can swap Zamir White out for somebody, maybe let him ride the bench a little bit until we get more data on him. Again, it was Josh Jacobs' backfield for the recent past. We haven't seen Zamir White have the backfield to himself. I think it's too early after just 1 week to say it's not his RB1 spot to take. Raven Shoyo says, CMC owners, I feel y'all. The Puka news hurt me. Yeah. Puka Nacua on the IR, Christian McCaffrey out for tonight, and we literally have 6% of the league's players to choose from because it is Monday Night Football. And the best player in fantasy football, some would argue, is out. XPC says, is it normal my league would not allow for me to trade for Mason and it only processes after tonight? It is normal for trades. For waivers, you can't pick up anybody after they've played in week 1, but you should be able to pick up people who do play tonight if they are not claimed. XPC, I would say that is a pretty normal rule. All right, if you folks have any questions at all, again, I am going Jordan Mason for sure. If he is picked up, it's kind of a crapshoot between Isaac Garendo and Braylon Allen. We can look at Garendo's profile. He is 6 foot, 221. If we look over at Braylon Allen, my argument with him is that he is bigger than Brees Hall and might be the goal line guy. And all of a sudden, if the Jets do have an advantage here and end up playing from out in front, they may rely on the run a little bit more. All right, 6 foot, 221. This is frustrating. 6'1", 235. So he's got about 15 pounds. I'm not sure we can really sit here and say Garendo is going to be the guy to plow people over while Jordan Mason gets a bulk of the carries. They very well might split. Again, these are two late round rookies, but Braylon Allen does have a bit more of that power profile. Garendo might get a bigger piece of the pie because, again, Brees Hall has a stranglehold on that backfield while Jordan Mason just got slotted in like an hour before the game started. So maybe I actually lean that way. Maybe we go Mason, Garendo, Allen, because even though Allen is the RB2, Brees Hall is healthy. Brees Hall has been the option. Brees Hall will be the option for the entire year, whereas Jordan Mason is kind of just there. Maybe they go more RB by committee as opposed to giving Mason 25 carries. So, Brian, I'm going to rescind my statement and actually give the nod to Guerrero. We will go Mason, Guerrero, and then Braylon Allen. Again, folks, my name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. If you'd like to leave a like and subscribe if any of this is helpful to you, my pecking order is going to be, Guerrero. Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero, because they are likely going to be splitting carries. Whereas Braylon Allen, he might be the goal line guy, but it's a pretty conclusive RB1 situation with the Jets in Breece Hall. So I am going to go Mason, Guerrero, and then Braylon Allen. A couple of late round rookies that are going to be getting a decent amount of attention. Again, I apologize. This is a tough situation. Those are kind of the options that we have at the moment. But I do hope that that pecking order at least gives you some clarity. If Jordan Mason is not available, I'd go Guerrero. Again, I don't think Mason has a stranglehold on the RB1 spot for tonight like Breece Hall has for the last few weeks, even last few months. So I would go Mason, Guerrero, and then Braylon Allen. Yikes, yikes, yikes. I mean, what a what a bad turn of events. This is again why, though, if you look on the right side of the screen, availability is so important. It is so extremely important. Even if someone has only been out for a season and a half so far, and those were bigger slots, and it's technically only happened twice, this is so extremely crucial to take people who are reliable. There's a reason it goes 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order. Availability, if they are not on the field, it doesn't matter how much opportunity they get. It doesn't matter if they're one of the most productive, versatile options in NFL history if they are not out on the field. So it hurts that much more. It hurts that much more because he is a first round pick. He is the 101 in a lot of these drafts. But now we just have to field what's happening and go from there. All right, Brian saying if the 49ers, I'm assuming you're still typing there, so I'll let you finish that. We are going to go Mason, Guerrero, and Braylon Allen in that order. Mason, the impromptu RB1. Guerrero right behind him, likely to be a committee. We'll go to Underdog Fantasy to see if they have any news breaking on it about the status of the backfield. I want to make sure I'm not just feeding you a hunch if there is news out there, but assuming that Jordan Mason doesn't get as big of a proportion of the carries out of the backfield as a Breece Hall would, I would go Mason, Guerrero, and then Braylon Allen. 1 second here. What a frustrating scenario. Okay. We're gonna go into sleeper. Mason, Guerrero, Allen. That's the pecking order. Beyond that, it kind of really is a crapshoot. I would even argue Guerrero versus Allen is a crapshoot, but again, Guerrero should get a bigger piece of that pie. Yep, there we go. Jordan Mason getting picked up right away. Elijah Mitchell not even on that depth chart that I was looking at. Let's see what we have on Jordan Mason. And again, if you are a Christian McCaffrey owner, this is a no-brainer. Go and get Jordan Mason. Go and get Isaac Guerrero. Go and get Braylon Allen if you have to. I do think it's a bigger deal, or not a bigger deal, but a pretty smart move if you are facing Christian McCaffrey to swipe Jordan Mason off the waivers for your worst bench piece because it does guarantee you the win. Now, again, if you are down 50 points and you have Christian McCaffrey, don't go trying to swing a ton to get rid of somebody on your bench that someone else might pick up. You've likely lost the week anyway. Christian McCaffrey, of all people, would have been able to maybe give you a fighting chance, but it's not him, and Jordan Mason certainly isn't going to be that answer either. So if you're down 50 or 55, or you know that Christian McCaffrey playing or not playing wasn't going to change the outcome, don't go changing your bench. I hope that resonates with some of you. The Royal says, how long is CMC out? Considering he was essentially a game time decision and we didn't get this news until about an hour ago, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's only out for this week. He will have a short week of recovery, but he wouldn't have played at all. I'll look here, but he didn't go to the IR, so that is the important part. Christian McCaffrey is not on the injured reserve. He is not going to be out for a prolonged period of time, at least with what we're under the impression of. Had been limited in practice this last week and was confident that he would see the field Monday night, but the 49ers will be out. We will be without their star running back in this one. Heavy workload for RB Jordan Mason. So I don't know if that's speculation, but the fact I haven't seen anything, at least in the last 45 minutes, about a split backfield tells me Jordan Mason should be, at least there's an inkling out there that Jordan Mason would be the lead back. Isaac Guerendo, again, is a late round pick from this year. He is a rookie. I would say he has more of a fighting chance to get a handful of carries as opposed to Braylon Allen. Also a rookie, but working behind Breece Hall, who is the guy. He is the conclusive RB1. It might be more of a committee again for a team that likes to run the ball. Now, this might help people who are deciding, oh, do I at this point, there's not much to decide. There's only 2 teams left, 1 game tonight. But maybe the value ticks up just a tiny bit for Brandon Ayuk, for guys like George Kittle, for guys like Deebo Samuel, even Jawan Jennings. Maybe this Niners team throws the ball a little bit more without arguably the best running back in the entire game right now in Christian McCaffrey, barring availability. So if you want to take anything away from that, you can. We have Shuriken saying, yo, what's good, bro? How's it going? Going good, man. Obviously, some not great breaking news for a lot of Christian McCaffrey owners out there. I do want to say, hopefully none of you are in a league together. If you are facing Christian McCaffrey and the replacement in Jordan Mason or Isaac Guerendo or a pickup of Braylon Allen could help your opponent win, grab them. Go get Jordan Mason and just cut off your opponent for the week. Guarantee yourself a win. It seems mean, but it seals the deal for you. Ice Cold Jones says, do I start Mason since I lost CMC? Absolutely, he's the best option. Guerendo after him, and then you would go after Braylon Allen. Brian says, I am up by 15, but I'm still trying to swing for the fences. Brian, does anyone against you have players left? Otherwise, you're good, right? Can't smell anything. Says, are you worried Guerendo hasn't practiced and just came off an injury? Needs 6 points. Him or Hall? If you're saying him or Breece Hall, definitely Hall. If you're talking about Braylon Allen or Guerendo, did he just come off an injury? Well, let's see what we have. I mean, the fact I just saw that Jordan Mason is supposed to get a heavy workload tells me maybe Guerendo is less of a factor than we thought. Limited participant in each of San Francisco's first 2 practices after missing all of last week due to a groin injury. Returning to a full practice. List is questionable. He will definitely be suiting up. Limited work in the running game behind the star tailback and backup Jordan Mason. He looks to be good to go now. He's been progressing the last couple of days. Oh, he returned to a full practice session on Saturday. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Mason and Breece Hall, if you're going to ask me in this situation who gets more touches, I'm going to tell you Breece Hall every day of the week. That tells me there's more opportunity for Guerendo. And he was a full participant in practice 2 days ago. So I'm still going Guerendo here. That is for can't smell anything. And then Shuriken, do you mind if I drop a question real quick? No problem at all. That is what this live stream is for. Again, if you guys could drop a like, get up to 5 real quick, that'd be awesome. I see 13 of you in here right now. Leave a like and subscribe. Please, we are here to help you out-research your fantasy opponent. And we are only 20 subscribers away from 1,000. Hopefully, we can help you with your security plan. So, by security plan, I mean just, I guess, emergency backup plan with Christian McCaffrey going down. We're going to go Mason. We're going to go Guerendo because he was the full participant in practice on Saturday, and then we'll go Braylon Allen. Jacob Anders says, sounds like a pregame setback. Something didn't feel right in warmups. And that's why, for those of you asking, is Christian McCaffrey out for a long period of time? I'm going to lean no. There were reports even in his own sleeper profile and just reports coming out of 49ers practice that he fully felt like he was going to participate in today's game. And like it was just said, probably a pregame setback. Something didn't feel right. They didn't want to risk it. They want him long term. It's unfortunate. Again, worst case scenario, what we're dealing with right now. TS says, I win since CMC is out, up by 18. Good stuff. Yeah, can't smell anything. Choosing between Allen or Guerendo. I'm still going Guerendo because I feel like he gets a bigger piece of that pie. And was a full participant in practice on Saturday. TS says, Goff, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, St. Brown stack didn't work too well for me. That was a weird game. Laporta didn't play very well. Montgomery was given the bulk of the workload out of the backfield. As soon as they went into overtime and I saw the first 2 plays were runs, I was immediately convinced, all right, Dan Campbell is just going to shove it up the middle on them over and over and over. There was a check down pass to Gibbs. The other 7 plays were runs, like 70 yards. I am not shocked, but that should be a good stack throughout the year. Again, Gibbs, an extremely productive pass catcher. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a top 10 receiver. Just a down week and a tough opponent. The Rams played them hard. Shuriken says, just dropped a like. Anyway, I got Mark Andrews and Jonnu Smith for my tight ends. What should I do? I would go Mark Andrews. Let's not overreact to Isaiah Likely. If you want to grab Likely and handcuff the 2 tight ends, that's fine. If anything, I would capitalize on a lot of people who are very high on Likely and use him as trade bait. I really do think Mark Andrews is still the guy. He's only 29. He is 3 years older. Likely is the dynasty pick. But yeah, Shuriken, thank you for dropping a like. If you aren't already subscribed, I would appreciate it. 24-hour stream once you hit 1,000. Brian, we'll have to see about that, man. I'm working on the weekends, too. We're doing like 5 or 6 days a week. That would be tough. I will do something for 1K. I am not sure yet. I will do something once we hit 1,000. There's got to be an incentive. You guys have supported me so much. It absolutely means the world. So we will do something. Does Juice scare you? Getting work over Garendo. I'm just going to rely on the depth chart here at this point. If anything, I'm just going to hope that Jordan Mason is available. I don't think I'm too intimidated by that much down the depth chart, unless we have reports of him stealing carries. We're kind of fighting over like who's going to get 3 points and who's going to get 1.5, right? Like it's going to be tough. Patrick Taylor had the experience with Green Bay. Honestly, they could probably use him now with A.J. Dillon out for the season. It's pretty much Josh Jacobs and friends. Emmanuel Wilson did have a nice appearance on that horrible field in Brazil against the Eagles. But yeah, the roll says, I traded Likely, Jamo, and a third for Andrews and a Dynasty tight end plus. Yeah, so Likely, you're giving someone the 5-year upside, but you're getting likely a more likely. You are. What's a synonym for likely? You will probably have a more productive tight end in 2024 in Andrews over Isaiah Likely. I do think people are overreacting again. Andrews was in that car wreck not too long ago. So I like the move. You're pushing up for a win now scenario. That's really it. It just depends on your mentality. Again, we are looking at the horrible predicament of Christian McCaffrey being announced out an hour ahead of game time. He was confident he would go, and then something happened in pregame warmup. So my pecking order personally is Jordan Mason, who many people are picking up right now. It is then Isaac Garendo, and then Braylon Allen, because I do believe that it's going to be more of a running back by committee situation with the Niners just finding out that McCaffrey would be out an hour ago, as opposed to a running back by committee situation in New York where Breece Hall has been, is, and will be the guy for the foreseeable future as long as he is healthy. And he is healthy. But yeah, just a sucky situation. I'm definitely a contender. Yeah, so the role, if you are a contender right now, it only makes sense. It only makes sense to kind of go for that win now type of move and swing for the fences. Cap for Life says somebody just dropped Mason. This is the waiver so far. Fields, Justice Hill, Jordan Mason, Tank Bigsby. We have Wilson from Arizona, Greg Dortch, and Damian Pierce. Thoughts on the Rams tight end? Are you talking about Tyler Higbee, I'm assuming? That is what I'm assuming you are referring to. Let's actually look at that game yesterday. Again, if you guys are joining, my name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Ask me any questions about the CMC situation. In my opinion, if you're beating the person who had CMC and they could have come back, go and take Jordan Mason off the waivers. Expel any doubt that you could win. Seal it. Call it what you want to. It's a guaranteed win if you do it. Otherwise, if you are in need of someone to replace Christian McCaffrey, I'm going Jordan Mason. I'm going Isaac Garendo. And then I am going Braylon Allen. Garendo working out of more of a committee likely. Allen, the backup. Garendo was hurt. I'm glad someone brought that up, but he was a full participant in practice on Saturday. All right. Let's look over here. Oh, Colby Parkinson is who you're referring to. That's right. I don't know why I said Higbee. Parkinson with 5 targets, 21 targets for Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford threw the ball 49 times. The Rams had 72 plays. Am I reading that right? So realistically, teams are going to be more in that 50 to 60 play range. I do think Parkinson has some pass catching appeal, and we always want to prioritize pass catchers regardless of position in a PPR format. I do think Mason could be an interesting handcuff if you have CMC, or just an interesting security blanket if CMC does go down again. We do know his injury history. It again comes into week 1, even though maybe it's just a situation where something didn't feel right in pregame warmups, or the 49ers don't want to chance anything. No, the wide receiver, Alec Pierce. I've got number 2 on the waivers. Alec Pierce could be an interesting one. Again, Anthony Richardson only completed 9 passes, but was able to contribute a decent amount in fantasy. So that is interesting to look at. Tank Bigsby obviously had a decent day. Fields is a short-term answer. Long-term, I'd be curious with Justice Hill because Derrick Henry has never been a pass catcher, and Justice Hill was one of the leading receivers. I do think there's an opportunity in a still very run-heavy team under Harbaugh to have a Thunder and Lightning dynamic. Thunder being Derrick Henry, strictly on the ground. Lightning being Justice Hill. Justice Hill got a decent amount of snaps, and Justice Hill contributed. I would actually go after him. Brian Pereira said, I realized 2 years ago you mentioned Alec Pierce, and now he's blowing up again. I mean, it could be after Pittman. He could be the other answer, right? I know we had Josh Downs trending as well last year. That is a possibility. Joshua Thornton said, who should I grab? No Mason. Should I get Kyle, the fullback, or the backup running back to Mason? Okay, so you're going between Juszczyk and Isaac Guerendo. I did not consider Juszczyk before this, actually. Let's look at him here. The number 1 fullback. Could Shanahan get crafty here? I mean, Juszczyk is good for about a reception or 2 a game. Occasionally gets a touchdown. If they're looking for more of that bruiser, that'd be interesting. I am still going to go Mason. You said Mason is up. Juszczyk or Guerendo? I might leave that one up to the chat. I kind of want to lean Juszczyk. So it would go Mason, Juszczyk, Guerendo, Allen. That would be interesting. Well, actually, let's look. A couple years ago, when Christian McCaffrey was down more, or no, he has only been healthy since he's joined San Fran, but when it was more of an RB by committee situation, Juszczyk was utilized more before they went out and got Christian McCaffrey a couple years ago. That is very interesting. I think Juszczyk or Mason is a toss-up. Again, we're fighting over someone who's either going to get 6 or 7 points and someone who might get 4 or 5, so we also got to consider that. But Juszczyk, I should have had that on my screen before they went out and got CMC and they were dealing with Elijah Mitchell getting hurt, Matt Brady getting hurt, lots of season-ending injuries. They leaned on him more. It wasn't a lot, but more. He had a great year in 2020. 6 touchdowns. That's an interesting angle. Joshua, I am torn. But I am between Guerendo and Juszczyk. I wouldn't mess with Braylon Allen. I don't think he's going to get a lot of he won't get a lot of touches behind Breece Hall, the conclusive RB1. Brian says, that was the first waiver wire pickup I chose because of you. Nice to see him have some sort of resurgence. Yeah, I would go, again, back to Cap for Life. I am between Alec Pierce and Justice Hill. 2 good pass catchers. Fields, Mason, a good backup option, but we're not really going to get long-term effectiveness out of him unless what happened tonight happens more. So I would go Pierce, Hill, Mason in that order. Or Hill, Pierce, Mason. Justice Hill or Alec Pierce. But yeah, Brian, that's a throwback, right? I bet I could go back and find the Alec Pierce waiver wire pickups video. I was a big fan of him. Again, he went to Cincinnati when they made the college football playoff under Luke Fickell. That was a fun team. Desmond Ridder was there. Yeah, and he has shown some upside. He had a game winner later that year. It's just a matter of getting, again, he's been available. He's been productive. He hasn't really had the opportunity. Tone Bear says, I had CMC, Kyron, Puka, London, Laporta, Rice. Thought I was going to go crazy this week. I guess not. Something to keep in mind with week 1 when it comes to injuries, lackluster performances. I saw something that said on Sunday, the average quarterback was throwing for like 180 yards. These teams don't have much of a preseason anymore. It's not 4 weeks plus the Hall of Fame game. It is 3 weeks plus the Hall of Fame game, so everyone really plays 3, and no one plays their starters in the first preseason game. No one. 10 starting quarterbacks didn't play at all in the preseason, and most guys are rested for the last game. So if you're resting a decent proportion of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL in the first game and the last game, that leaves the middle game, and they're not going to play more than 1 or 2 quarters. So now all of a sudden you're getting these injuries, you're getting these cramps, you're getting these muscle pulls, these tears, you're getting lackluster performances. I'm not saying that's what caused the CMC thing, but we're seeing some trends. Tone Bear, yeah, that is all of a sudden with Puka, we might want to find someone who is willing to play the long game. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks into it, when we get closer to him coming back, you sell him off for a higher value than he's at right now. Because again, when someone goes on the IR and gets hurt, their lowest value is when you get the news. All of a sudden, you're a week or 2 closer, a month closer, you're a couple weeks away from them coming back. They do have more value. Maybe you wait and sell them on the way up. But obviously, Cooper Kupp's value just skyrocketed. Thoughts on McMillan from Tampa? Yeah, let's look at that real quick as we review some week 1 stuff. Again, I am going Jordan Mason, Kyle Juszczyk / Garendo, and then Braylon Allen for your emergency backup plans in a very sucky situation. How about Baker Mayfield, by the way? If anybody was on the live stream with me before we kicked off, I was saying go pick up Baker Mayfield. Owned in 13% of sleeper leagues. I bet that's doubled by now. I'd be shocked if it hasn't. Or it's waiver claim, so it's not going to go up. Yeah. 5th career game of at least 4 passing touchdowns. Bucky Irving looked very good. McMillan only with 3 targets. Cade Otton with 2. McMillan could take over that spot. Cade Otton, you know, as much as I love him for his value, he falls. He was the tertiary option for a bit. He still has a lot of target competition. It's Chris Godwin. It's Mike Evans. I do think Mike Evans takes a slight step back. This might be the year he doesn't hit 1,000 yards. He's getting old. And then it looks like it might be Rachaad White, catching all 6 of his targets for 75 yards. Rachaad White is a wagon. Had a horrible day on the ground. He had a rush for 15 yards, and he took the other 14 carries for 16 yards. But he still got 16 points because of the pass catching upside. So it's Godwin, it's White, it's Evans. McMillan, you can take a flyer on him, but I'm yawning a lot. I would not replace a decent bench piece. I'd be curious at what your bench looks like before you make a move like that. Because again, we would just be reacting to one performance. And there wasn't much volume there. With CMC out, would you start Garrett Wilson or Debo in full PPR? Now, this is interesting. Debo also used out of the run game. We know how creative Shanahan can get with that rushing offense. Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers there or Debo. I'm still going to go Wilson because even if Debo does get more rushes in a PPR format, which you said it is full PPR, we're not going to get as much of an incentive from a couple more rushes from Debo unless one of them is a score, as we would Garrett Wilson with a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. And Garrett Wilson doesn't have any competition at the wide receiver 1 spot. There is nothing. It is Mike Williams. It's a couple of other guys out there. Garrett Wilson is the conclusive number 1. So from a PPR standpoint, we're still going to go with him. Connor LaRose says, how do we feel about Jordan Mason? Jordan Mason's it, man. If he's available, he's the one you want to grab. If you're going up against someone who had Christian McCaffrey, guess what? You still want to grab him. Yeah, there is not much to say about that. It's got to be Jordan Mason. If it's not Jordan Mason, I'm going Isaac Garendo because I do think it'll be a running back by committee. And then I'll go Braylon Allen, who is the backup to Breece Hall, who, for all intents and purposes, is one of the better running backs in the league. He's probably the best healthy running back in the league now. He's been going as the RB2 in drafts. So I am going Jordan Mason, who should be getting a bulk of the carries, Isaac Garendo, Braylon Allen. If you want to sneak Juszczyk in there, I do not blame you. Folks, I see 17 of you in here. We are 20 subscribers away from 1,000. I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. We are here breaking news to you. We're streaming pretty much every day for the entire season, here to help you out-research your fantasy opponents and here to help you devise emergency backup plans 5-6 minutes before kickoff when Christian McCaffrey is announced as out, even though we thought he was going to play the entire week. So that is what I am here to do. This is such a bad situation. Joe Kingsley says my 3 keepers were CMC, Amon-Ra, and Jamar Chase. Starting tight end is Ferguson, and I drafted Drake London. Is it panic time for me, or do I sit tight? With that talent, I would sit tight. Thank you for the like. We are up to 8. If we could get up to 10 before we jump off the stream in a couple minutes, that would be awesome. Fantasy guidelines, if you are looking for a direction to go in for long-term for fantasy. Availability, are they on the field? CMC is not, again, opportunity, touches, targets, and snaps. Productivity, are they efficient? And opponent strength, you want to capitalize against weak opponents. Joe Kingsley, is it time to panic for me, or do I sit tight? Ferguson's in a phenomenal offense. Drake London is still the wide receiver 1 and first receiving option for Kirk Cousins, who has a lot of 4,000-yard passing seasons. It was just a rough first week. Again, these guys don't get a preseason. There are 3 weeks of preseason. Typically, guys aren't playing the first week. That's for the backups. The last week is for the guys who are trying to make the cut. So that leaves week 2, and 10 quarterbacks did not play in the preseason at all. Not worried about Drake London. Amon-Ra, again, a weird first week, a grinder of a game against a Rams team that really put up a good fight, and the Lions had to stick to their guns and go very run-oriented. Not worried about Amon-Ra. Jamar, the Bengals have always started slow. Christian McCaffrey is the one you kind of have to ask yourself on, do some soul-searching with, because yes, he's the best out of all those. Arguably the best fantasy option. I wouldn't even say arguably. He's the best fantasy option in the entire league when he abides by rule number 1 of our fantasy guidelines, availability. He is not on the field a lot. That's the only one I'd start to do some soul-searching on. Brian Pereira, who are you starting then? What are the options for tonight for the RB position? And Joe says, me, I picked up Mason earlier this week. Okay, good stuff. Oh, I see. Yeah, Brian, if you're asking me again, we're going Mason, we're going Garendo, Juszczyk. You can use those interchangeably if it comes down to that. And then I'm going Braylon Allen after that. I am taking Garrett Wilson over Deebo Samuel. I do believe that Deebo Samuel, of all those options, has a decent amount of upside, but you can also make the argument that maybe the 49ers and Shanahan decide to throw the ball a little bit more to guys like George Kittle, to guys like Deebo Samuel, to guys like, of course, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, because they're missing a decent pass catcher, to say the very least, one of the best pass catchers in the league, who also happens to play the running back position. So again, one more time, Jordan Mason, Isaac Garendo, Kyle Juszczyk, and Braylon Allen in that order. Hayu says, got offered Chase for Laporta and Ramondre. Should I take it? I have Hawkinson on IR. Who would you have at tight end going forward then? Because you're losing Laporta and Ramondre. I would keep Laporta and Ramondre 100%. You are talking about the tight end 1 and a phenomenal pass catching back in Ramondre Stevenson, who is typically top 15, top 20 on a yearly basis. For a Patriots team that kind of scrubbed out a win, you would need to get more than just Chase. Chase and Laporta, I would argue Laporta is more valuable because he should be the runaway tight end 1 despite a sluggish start. He's projected to be. And Ramondre, you're going to need like someone around James Conner to really make that one make sense. I would hold on to Ramondre. Antonio Gibson did not get a lot of touches. We can actually look at that right now. Not a ton of usage for him. Five attempts for 18 yards. He was in for just 22% of snaps. Ramondre, and Antonio Gibson's a good back, but Ramondre Stevenson is the guy. 78%. So actually that lines up perfectly. 78% plus 22 is 100. He had 28 touches. He had a touchdown. He had some PPR points, not a ton. Yeah. This is a no-brainer. You got to ask for more. Or just hold on to what you have. There's a lot of value there. Freiermuth off waivers. Let's hold Laporta. Someone is trying to bait you right now into selling Sam Laporta after one bad performance. Let's look at the 16 good performances he had last year. All right, folks. We're just about at kickoff. So again, Jordan Mason, Isaac Garendo, or Kyle Juszczyk, and then Braylon Allen, who is not working out of a running back by committee situation. He is behind Breece Hall, who again has that backfield to himself as long as he is healthy. Remember to follow those fantasy football guidelines: availability, opportunity, productivity, and opponent strength. I am going to drop the free Discord link in the chat. You can ask me questions around the clock when news like this breaks. In case I am not streaming, I would be more than happy to help you. We've got a general tab here. We've got a start or sit tab. I'll show you what we're talking about here. Start or sit tab if you have any questions in that capacity. We've got trades, announcements, and occasionally I'll just do random research that hopefully is of benefit to you, and you guys seem to enjoy that. Announcements, I'm just letting you know when we go live before we go live, except for today I panicked and put it in the general chat. So folks, we are going to put that free Discord link in the live chat. Feel free to join the Armchair Army. We've got about 25 of you. Great way to have access to me and all of my research and hopefully what you see as expertise. But again, availability, this is a prime example of it, and the reason it is #1 on my fantasy guidelines list, this is my Bible. Make sure the players on your team have a history of being reliable. Christian McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp, those are high-tier guys that I have always avoided, as talented as they are, because they have a higher chance of not even being on the field. They can't perform with you if they are not on the field and healthy. Opportunity, you want to look for guys who are getting snaps, targets, and touches in general, guys who are getting the ball in their hands at a high frequency. Productivity, we're looking for efficiency, high yards per carry, high yards per reception, a decent catch percentage to make sure someone is a reliable target. And opponent strength, as we get more and more data in 2024, we are going to look for players and options going up against opponents that will maybe allow them to have an above average performance. My name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. 20 away from 1,000. We will do some type of incentive when we hit that mark. Of course, it'll be a huge thank you as well. Thank you to all of you for joining on the stream. Enjoy the football game tonight. Again, Mason, Garendo, Allen, Juszczyk somewhere in the middle in that mix. We will see you tomorrow.